Okay, good morning, dear students. My greetings to all of you. Nice to talk to you once again through this online class. So far, you have studied the valency bond theory, its postulates, and the applications of valency bond theory. I have explained the valency bond theory by taking some examples. You have also learned the inner and outer orbital complexes. Having studied this valency bond theory in detail, there are some merits and demerits of this valence bond theory. What are the merits of this valence bond theory? The first merit is it has satisfactorily explained the formation of a coordinate bond. I have explained how a coordinate bond is formed. Valency bond theory has said a coordinate bond is formed when filled orbital of the ligand overlaps with the empty orbital of the central metal atom. So he has explained satisfactorily how a coordinate bond is formed. The second merit of this valency bond theory is he has explained the inner and outer orbital complexes. And the third merit of this valency bond theory is he has also explained qualitatively the magnetic properties of the coordination compounds. He said those which are containing unpaired electrons in the central metal ion are called as paramagnetic in nature, and those which are not having unpaired electrons are called the diamagnetic in nature. So these are the three merits of the valence bond theory of coordination compounds. Then what are the demerits of this valency bond theory? The first demerit of this valency bond theory is he failed to give a proper explanation why some ligands are strong ligands and why some ligands are weak ligands. The second drawback of this valency bond theory is he could not, that is Linus Pauling, could not explain the color formation of the coordination compounds. You know, he just said the magnetic properties, but he didn't mention about the color formation of the coordination compounds. And the third drawback of this valency bond theory is the Linus Pauling did not consider the splitting up of d orbitals in the presence of ligand fill. So these are the three limitations of the valency bond theory of coordination compounds. So to overcome these drawbacks of the valency bond theory, another theory came into existence, that is crystal field theory. I will write it short as CFT, crystal field theory. This is proposed by, this theory is proposed by the scientist Hans Bethe and John Van Leck. John Van Leck. So these two scientists, they proposed this theory to overcome the drawbacks of the valency bond theory. They have also proposed some postulates to explain this crystal field theory. Now, before we go into the postulates of this crystal field theory, I will explain some definitions that comes out through this crystal field theory. The first definition is degenerate orbitals. What are these degenerate orbitals? You know very well, there are 5 d orbitals. One is dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square, and dz square. So these are the 5 d orbitals. These 5 d orbitals, they possess same energy in the absence of the ligands. I repeat this. These 5 d orbitals, they possess same energy in the absence of the magnetic, in the presence of the ligand field. So such orbitals which are possessing the same energy in the absence of the ligand field are called as degenerate orbitals. So in the examination, if the definition is asked, what are degenerate orbitals? What is your answer? The 5 d orbitals possessing the same energy in the absence of the ligand field are called as degenerate orbitals. This is first definition. Now the second definition is crystal field. So what is crystal field then? The central metal ion in a coordination compound, when it is surrounded by ligands containing a pair of electrons, a kind of electrostatic field is created there around this central metal ion. That electrostatic field, we say it is crystal field it is. Followed what I said? I repeat this. When a central metal ion in a coordination compound is surrounded by the ligands containing a lone pair of electrons, an electrostatic field is created around this central metal ion. We call that electric field around that central metal ion as a crystal field. Now the third definition is crystal field splitting. What is crystal field splitting then? When the ligands approaches the central metal ion in a coordination compound, the 5 d orbitals of the central metal ion, they split into two sets of d orbitals, which are called crystal field splitting. I will explain like this. These are 5 d orbitals. So dxy, dyz, dzx, dx square minus y square, dz square. So when the ligand is approaching the central metal ion, these 5 d orbitals will split into two sets of orbitals. One is dxy, dyz, dzx, and another set is dx square minus y square and the last one is dz square orbitals. This dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals are called as T2g orbitals, whereas dx square minus y square, dz square orbitals are called as Eg orbitals. So now, what is the definition of this crystal field splitting? The splitting up of the 5d orbitals into two sets of orbitals, T2g and Eg orbitals, is called crystal field splitting. So in the examination, the definition is asked, what is crystal field splitting? You just say, in the presence of the ligand, the 5d orbital splits into two sets of orbitals known as T2g orbitals and Eg orbitals, which is called as crystal field splitting. Then what are two T2g orbitals? T2g orbitals are what? dxy, dyz and dzx. What are Eg orbitals? dx square minus y square, dz square orbitals. So in the examination, he may ask, what are T2g orbitals? Your answer must be dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals are called as T2g orbitals according to the crystal field theory. Now, the another definition is crystal field stabilization energy. Crystal field stabilization energy. What is this crystal field stabilization energy? I have already said, in the presence of the ligand field, the 5d orbitals splits into two sets of orbitals. The energy with which the central metal ion in a coordination compound gets stabilized when its 5d orbitals are splits into two sets of orbitals is called as crystal field stabilization energy. Followed what I said? In simple, I say like this: when 5d orbitals, when they split into two sets of orbitals, the central metal ion gains stability by acquiring some energy, and that energy we will call it as crystal field stabilization energy. Fine. Then the next definition is barycenter. What is this barycenter? I draw a line like this between the two sets of d orbitals, and this energy level is called as barycenter. So I define the barycenter like this. It is the main energy level. It is the main energy level between the two sets of d orbitals is called barycenter. Is called barycenter, and its energy is 0. Is it okay? So having learned these definitions, so which are the definitions you learned? You learned what is degenerate orbitals. You learned what is crystal field. You learned what is crystal field splitting. And you learned what is crystal field stabilization energy. And lastly, you learned what is barycenter. So having learned all these definitions, now we shall study the postulates of the crystal field theory. The postulates of crystal field theory. I already said this theory is proposed by two scientists, that is Hans Bethe and John van Leck. Now what they says is, number one, According to this crystal field theory, the central metal ion is considered as a transition metal ion. Followed what I said? According to this theory, the transition metal ion becomes what? The central metal ion in a coordination compound, and it is surrounded by ligands containing a pair of electrons. This is the first postulate. I repeat what it says, what this crystal field theory says. This is what? The transition metal atom forms what? A central metal ion. It is surrounded by what? Ligands containing a pair of electrons. Second postulate. According to this theory, ligand, whether it is a negative ion or whether it is neutral molecule, they are considered as point charges. Follow this carefully. What this second postulate of crystal field theory says, if this is a central metal ion, these ligands, whether they are ions, negative ligands or neutral molecules, they are considered as what it says, the point charges. I have represented around the central metal ion the ligands by some point or dots. Now the question comes, if the ligand is a neutral ligand, then what about this point charge? In such cases, for example, if water is considered here as a ligand, you know very well water is a dipole molecule. The negative end of the dipole is oriented towards the central metal ion. Followed what I said? Sorry. So the second postulate of the crystal field theory says, whether the ligand is a negative ion or whether the ligand is a neutral molecule, they are treated as the point charges. Here I said, if the ligand is a neutral molecule, for example water, its negative end of the dipole is oriented towards the central metal ion. And the third postulate of this crystal field theory is the attraction between the central metal ion and the ligand is purely electrostatic. Followed what I said? The attraction between the central metal ion and the ligand according to the valency bond theory is, it is an electrostatic force of attraction. In other words, the bond between the central metal ion and the ligand is 100% ionic. You remember the valency bond theory has said some compounds are covalent in nature, some compounds are ionic in nature. But here in crystal field theory, we are studying that the bond between this central metal ion and the ligand is said to be 100% ionic. Then the fourth postulate of this valency bond, the crystal field theory is, when the ligand is approaching the central metal ion with a pair of electrons, the valence electrons of this central metal ion, say for example, there are some valence electrons here of the central metal ion. Now the ligand is approaching the central metal ion, say for example on this axis, say x-axis. This valence electrons of the central metal ion gets repelled And these valence electrons occupy the orbitals or the lobes which are not there along the direction of the incoming ligand. I repeat this postulate. What is happening here? When the ligand is approaching with a pair of electrons, the valence electrons of the central metal ion which are there in the direction of the ligand gets repelled and they try to occupy the lobe or the orbital which is away from the direction of the incoming ligand. Then the fifth postulate of this crystal field theory is the arrangement of ligands around the central metal ion decides the crystal field. For example, if they are arranged like this, it becomes a square planar. If the ligands are arranged octahedrally, the field we say it is octahedral field. If the ligands are arranged around the central metal ion tetrahedrally, we say it is tetrahedral field. That means the crystal field around the central metal ion depends upon what? The arrangement of the ligands around the central metal ion. And also here, the crystal field, the arrangement of the ligands around the central metal ion will have an impact on the energy of the d orbitals. You know, I said the d orbitals, they splits into two sets of orbitals to gain stability, to acquire some stabilization energy. Hence, the stabilization energy differs from tetrahedral complexes to the octahedral complexes, which differs from the square planar complexes. So the last postulate says the crystal field around the central metal ion depends upon what? The arrangement of the ligands. And further, it has got the impact on the relative energies of the d orbitals of the central metal ion. So these are the various postulates of the crystal field theory. Now we will apply this crystal field theory to octahedral complexes. In other words, we are going to see now how the d orbitals in a central metal ion in an octahedral complex splits. So I will write the splitting up of d orbitals in octahedral complexes. You may get the 4-mark question like this. Explain the crystal field splitting in case of the octahedral complexes. Observe here carefully. I will write the octahedral geometry like this. There is a central metal ion here. I will write this as x-axis, this as y-axis, and this as z-axis. These are all ligands, right? At each corner there will be a ligand. Right. So I have drawn here a octahedral geometry. Now look here. The ligands are approaching the central metal ion in an octahedral complex along the axis. Is it not? I have written here, along the x-axis ligand is approaching, along y-axis the ligand is approaching, along z-axis the ligand is approaching. Now according to the crystal field theory, which are the orbitals that are there along the axis. See, you have got 5d orbitals like this now. I will write them. So this is first orbital dxy, dyz, dzx or xz, fourth one dx square minus y square, and the last one is dz square. So now the ligands are approaching along the axis in an octahedral field. Which are those orbitals that are there in an octahedral complex along the axis? These two, dx square minus y square, dz square. They are there along the axis. So when the ligands are approaching the central metal ion along the axis, these two d orbitals which are there in the direction of the incoming ligands, they suffer maximum repulsion and hence they are raised in energy. So I will write this splitting like this. So this is dx square minus y square and dz square orbital. And these are called, I said, Eg orbitals, right? They are raised in energy because they suffer the maximum repulsion. And now dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals which are there between the axes, they do not suffer maximum repulsion. They suffer only a minimum repulsion and hence they are lowered in energy. So this dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals, we call them T2G orbitals. So look here how the crystal field splitting is occurring in octahedral complexes. I repeat this once again. I have drawn here the octahedral geometry and I said the ligands in octahedral complex are approaching the central metal ion along the axis. That means when the ligands are approaching the central metal ion along the axis, the d orbitals of the central metal ion which are there along the axis, which are those dx square minus y square, dz square, they suffer repulsion, maximum repulsion, and hence they are raised in energy. I have written them like this, and they are called Eg orbitals. And those orbitals of the central metal ion, which are those dxy, dyz, dzx, which are not there in the direction of the ligands, they are there between the axes, therefore they suffer minimum repulsion, hence they are lowered in energy and they are called T2G orbitals. So dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals are called T2G orbitals. And if I write this line between these two, T2G and Eg orbitals, this line is called barycenter. It is the what? Main energy level between these two sets of d orbitals is called barycenter and its energy is taken, I said already, it is 0. Now difference between these two energy levels is 10 d cubed. That delta naught is called crystal field stabilization energy and it is abbreviated and it is denoted by dq. dq is an abbreviation taken from the quantum mechanics. Differential quanta it is. Now here further in octahedral complexes, the energy difference between the barycenter and this T2G energy level is calculated as minus 4 dq. Minus 4 dq. The difference, the energy difference between these two, that is main energy level and T2G. And here it is, the difference of energy between this main energy level and Eg energy level is plus 6 dQ. So it is calculated from thermodynamics. So here you just remember the energy difference between the T2G and main energy level in case of the octahedral complexes is minus 4 dQ, and the energy level difference between this main energy level and the Eg energy level in octahedral complex is plus 6 dQ. What does it mean? If I place one electron in this, for example, dxy orbital, its energy is taken as minus 4 dQ. If I place one more electron here, 4 plus 4, 8. So the energy of this central metal ion or the complex is said to be 8 dQ. If I place one more there, 8 plus 4, 12. That is minus 12 dQ it is. Suppose if electron is present here, its energy is to be taken as 6 dQ. If I place one more electron there, it becomes 12 dQ. Is it okay? And if I calculate the difference here, this becomes 10 dQ. Is it okay? This becomes plus when we take the difference. So 6 plus 4 will become how much? 10 dQ. So in case of the octahedral complexes, the crystal field stabilization energy, that is delta naught, is equal to how much? 10 dQ. So I repeat this once again, how the splitting is occurring in octahedral complexes. I have drawn here a geometry of the octahedral complex, and there are 5d orbitals like this. So when the ligands are approaching the central metal ion, they are approaching along the axis. So which are the central metal ion orbitals which are there along the direction of the incoming ligands? Dx square minus y square and dz square. Hence they suffers maximum repulsion and raised in energy. And those orbitals of the central metal ion which are present between the axes, that is dxy, dyz, dzx, they suffers what? Minimum repulsion, and they are lowered in energy. And I have written like this, dxy, dyz, dzx. They are said to be T2G orbitals. So here, what is the difference? Total energy difference between these two, it is how much? I said 10 dQ. And the energy difference between this barycenter and T2G is how much? Minus 4 dQ. The energy difference between this barycenter and the Eg energy level is how much? 6 dQ. Right? So if you take the difference between the T2G and Eg, delta naught becomes how much it is? 10 dQ. I explained already. What is this 4 dQ then? If I place one electron in this T2G orbital, its energy is how much? 4 dQ. If I place one more electron in say another orbital like this, its energy, the energy of the central metal ion becomes how much? 8 dQ and so on. So in the examination, you may get the question several times it is asked. Explain the splitting up of d orbitals in octahedral complexes. So this is how you have to explain. Then you may get the 2 marks question also. Write the T2G orbitals in octahedral complexes. So answer is what? dxy, dyz, dzx orbitals are called T2G orbitals. You may also get mention the Eg orbitals in octahedral complexes. The answer must be what? Dx square minus y square, dz square orbitals are called Eg orbitals. So this is what I want to talk to you today, and we shall continue in the next class the crystal field splitting in case of tetrahedral complexes. Right? Thank you very much.